This is unusual. My printers are silent, but not for long. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly vlog, my vlog number 423 for September the 22nd, 2025. Happy first full day of fall. Yeah, maybe yesterday was the 21st, I don't know. But either way, it's not summer anymore, it's fall. So, moving right along, what are we working on this fall? Well, there's Stormy Sea, still working on it, but I rearranged some of the blocks on here to make room for the two new blocks that I got finished on Sunday during Russ's of Quilt Meets World's Sewing Shenanigans Day. And down here on the, in the top row, far right, that's one of the blocks. That's a one-off. And then down in the second row, the first series of blocks, first block actually, the big one, that is another block set that I got done. And that one is not a one-off. That one is 4 blocks. So it's coming along, but there's still many, many blocks to go. So in the meantime, I did finish my Halloween cat quilt. This is the quilt that's built around the panel called Abracadabra, and I told you all about that last week. But now it's completely done and it's all quilted as well. And let me show you what the quilting looks like. And I don't have a picture of the quilting. No, because I'm going to show you that tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. And I did finish this smaller version of the felt tote bags that I buy at Dollarama. I saw Kim McGowan do this. She cut hers down a little bit. It's a nicer size, but there are some problems that I ran into when I made this. Again, talk about that tomorrow on the Idiot Quilter. And I think right now that's all I have to show you as far as sewing and quilting projects are concerned. So let's jump into YouTube channel of the week. Well, this was not the one I was going to talk about when I was planning my vlog for this week, because things had changed in the media world, and the buzz is all about the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel's show. And everybody knows that he is a great, how would you say it? He's definitely someone who's opposed to Trump, for sure, and has made made a lot of money, his career, out of being, critical of Trump. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. In fact, I think that's a really good thing. Unfortunately, Trump, being the bully he is, of course, got Jimmy Kimmel's show canceled. And that's late night talk comedian number 2. Stephen Colbert was the first, and there's other ones in Trump's sights. So this particular, and I highly recommend you watch it. It's only about an hour. It's only about 1 minute and 30 seconds long. It comes out of the Netherlands. It is in Dutch, but there are subtitles. And the main part of it is what this character does with Disney. Well, here's my review of that. This week's YouTube clip is a hilarious clip, but about a very serious topic. And it comes from the Netherlands. And it's about Jimmy Kimmel's show being canceled and Disney's responsibility for doing that. This, of course, is a parody about Disney and how they're going to supposedly change their programming now that they basically support a form of censorship. However, although it is funny, as I said, it is very, very serious, and it drives home a very important point. So I suggest you really watch this, not just for the laugh, but for the thought-provoking information that it presents. That's Jimmy Kimmel's show has been canceled. And by the way, this is in Dutch, but it does have subtitles, and the part about Disney itself is all in English. And it only runs for about 1.5 minutes, so do check it out. So I highly recommend, if for anything you want a good laugh, check out that particular video. The link is in the show notes below. It'll be worth best 1.5 minutes you've spent in quite a while, I can tell you that. Okay, other resources that are there. There is the link for Sewing with Stephen on Wednesdays as always. So all are invited to come to that if you can and you want to. Come and go as you please. And there's links for various other things, my friends' channels, and for any of the videos that I put up last week. So it's all there for you in one neat little package. And just a reminder, some people don't check out the show notes for not just my videos, but anybody's video. You really should. As content creators, that's where we put a lot of information that will help you, especially if you're looking for certain things that have been mentioned in a video. Oftentimes, content creators will put a link to those things in the show notes. And then you're going to say, well, I can't find them. There's just a couple of sentences. There's a little word, more. Click on that little word more and it expands. And that's where you're going to find a whole host of interesting things for most videos, not just mine, as I said, but for everybody's. Check it out. It is a valuable space. Okay, that takes me to how the weather's looking today since we're into fall proper. Well, it's dark. Yeah, because it's still kind of, well, it's very early morning. Right now, I look at my clock, it says it's 6:10 in the morning. I took this picture about 5 minutes ago. And yeah, it's dark out. But it'll get lighter. The sun will come up, but the days are getting shorter, aren't they? Yeah, before we know it, we'll be switching the clocks back 1 hour to, to do whatever that does. And yeah, summer's gone. It's sad. It is. Now, I know some of you love the fall. And yes, the fall can be invigorating as well. But I'm more of a summer person, I think. I used to be more fall and winter, but now, as I grow older, I'm really not interested in snow and cold. But anyways, that's what it's looking like there today. And according to the Canadian weather forecast, it is supposed to be sunny today. Well, no, partly cloudy. Sunrise is at 7:03, so we've got a little under an hour yet before that happens. But at 8, there's rain. At 9, there's rain. At 10, there's rain. At 11, there's rain. At 12, there's rain. At 1, there's rain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, rain. And then it looks like there isn't much around. Let's see, yeah, 7, there's rain. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5. Holy crap. We're getting a lot of rain. Now, they all say 35% and 40% chance, but it'll probably start to rain just as I go out for my walk after I'm finished recording this. Yeah. So that's today. And tomorrow, 80% chance of rain, high of 22. Tuesday, high of 23, 75% chance of rain. Wednesday, rain, 45% chance, 22 high. Thursday, 80% rain, 20% or 20 degrees is the high. Then Friday, partially cloudy, but it doesn't look like there's any rain, 22. And then Saturday and Sunday and Monday are all nice and sunny, and not very comfortable temperatures, 23 high, 21, 21. So yeah, we do need the rain, as I'm sure other places in North America need the rain as well. And we had some rain last night. It didn't rain that long. It was a thunderstorm, but it lasted about 5 minutes or so. But it did come down pretty hard. So we'll see what this is all about. Now they're saying rainy conditions expected around 8 a.m. Wind gusts are up to 22 kilometers per hour. So if I get out before 8, which I usually do, maybe I'll be lucky and not get caught in the rain. So that's how things are shaping up today as far as weather is concerned. That's okay if it's a little rainy today because I didn't have any outdoor plans. Actually, I never have any outdoor plans. But I got a lot of things in here that I need to do. Okay, moving on to what's pissing me off. Need a sip of coffee for this one. And get something up here on the screen as well. So, if you saw Stephen and Walter live yesterday, you know we did a whole number on censorship because basically what Trump has done to Jimmy Kimmel and to other things that he does in his administration, if he does a lot of censorship, especially of anything that is negative about him. Yeah, that is not good. And yesterday I equated it to the Stalin regime and Hitler, because it is. Today, though, I want to talk a little bit about the warnings we've had about censorship and what leads out of censorship. And that's in things like books. And I am sure many of you have read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley and, of course, 1984 by George Orwell. Both of these books are classics. Both of these books were written, almost 100 years ago, back in the early 30s. Um, and what they talk about is kind of scary when you look at it in today's, um, the events that are happening now, today. Brave New World, if you've never read it, is basically, it's called dystopian literature. Dystopian literature is literature that looks at a brave new world. Sort of futuristic in many ways, but also it takes the word utopia and it turns it upside down. So, it's a world in Brave New World, the book. The world looks like it's everybody's fantasy. Um, Everybody is employed. Everybody has their job suited to their personality. Babies aren't made in the traditional way, they are decanted. So basically, they're talking about, um, artificial insemination and stuff like that, which we all have today. They talk about children being raised by the state, which more and more that is happening through our education system. They talk about things that they can say, things that they can do, things that they can read, topics they can discuss, all arranged by the state. So, not unlike the path we're on right now. 1984, everybody's heard of 1984. The year 1984 has come to be synonymous with Big Brother, which is why they have an eye on the cover. And basically, Big Brother is the government watching every one of the moves everybody makes in society. So everything you say, everything you do is all recorded. If it does anything to criticize the state, if it does anything that's outside of the regulations and guidelines and laws of the state, you are penalized severely. You're being watched 24/7 in your home, on the street. All these cameras are everywhere. Big Brother is watching. Well, think about it. There isn't anywhere you can go where there isn't a camera on you. And we all have them in our houses and on our doorsteps, all of that. So, yeah, 1984 and Brave New World, both dystopias, both are warnings about what could happen. Another book that I really didn't put here on the list, but should be put on the list, is, of course, The Handmaid's Tale. And The Handmaid's Tale basically shows what can happen to society, and especially to women, when the government takes over, but the government is a far right religious organization, not unlike some parts of the United States, and even here in Canada to a certain degree. So, yeah, these books, although they are fiction, have really predicted where we're headed right now, and that is very scary. I strongly recommend, if you have not read either one of those books or one of those three, Handmaid's Tale, 1984, and Brave New World, that you read them. Get them out of your library or buy them, and read them and think about them. The parallels between what's happening here in North America and what happens in these books is scary in its accuracy. And that's what good literature, especially science fiction literature, often does. It often predicts what's going to happen in the future. It's kind of uncanny that it can do that. But if you study literature as I have, you see the trend very easily. So, yeah, we are living in very bad times. We are living under a whole bunch of rulers across the world that are basically, because they have the money, because they're in positions of power, are abusing all of that. And we, the common people, are the ones that are going to suffer. However, there's hope in the organizations and in the groups that are protesting, that are doing what they can to bring to light to everyone what the true problem is. Now, one of those groups is called Antifa, and they are an anti-fascist group, and they've been around for quite a few years. They're just not something that just sprung up, and they're all around the world. Trump wants to declare them a terrorist organization so he can stomp them out. And this is what he does. He takes his pen, he writes on a piece of paper, and presto bingo, people and things disappear. That is what happens in 1984. Yeah. Same thing. He pretends that what he is creating and his administration is creating is a new utopia. He's going to make America great again. That's the philosophy in Brave New World. He supports Project 2025, which is his blueprint for this destruction of democracy. And it's written by the Christian right, the extreme Christian right, and others. And they would like to see the end of the LGBTQ community, women's rights. They want to see the end of abortion. They want to overturn a whole lot of laws that have been put into place to protect human rights. Not unlike what's in The Handmaid's Tale. See what I mean? So yeah, if you want to study what the pathway we, and when I say we, I mean mostly Americans, but it affects everybody in the world, and it definitely affects my country, then you need to read one or all of these books. What can we do? I don't know. I guess we have to just keep up the good fight, protest. Here in Canada, we are shutting down even further on buying American products. Our government is looking at other alternatives to doing trade with other parts of the world. I mean, when the American ambassador comes over here and meets with a bunch of businessmen in a Chamber of Commerce meeting in Halifax and boldly insults Canada by saying he doesn't understand why we're not happy with Americans, why we're not hanging on to everything Americans do and worshiping them. No. I don't know. Just as a sideline, if I'd been in on that meeting, I would have got up and left at that point. What an arrogant a-hole to come into our country and do this. And he's supposed to be the ambassador. Not very ambassador-like. Ambassadors are supposed to be diplomatic. Definitely not diplomatic. Insulting, yes, to say the least. But anyways, and the host of that should have nailed him too. But you know, here in Canada, we just go, sorry. Elbows up, people. Elbows up. Anyways, I digress from the main point. So, basically, what these books are predicting is coming true. We are moving to a dystopian world where we're losing all of our rights, all of our freedoms, our ability to have free expression. It's already started. Where will it end? Who knows? I'm waiting for when Trump starts to attack YouTube, because YouTube is still the last bastion out there of criticism of Trump. And he doesn't like his criticism. But no bullies do. Read. Okay, let's talk about plants. And how are things looking in our grow lights? Kind of moldy. You'll see what I mean here in a second. There you go. See that white stuff? Well, it's not really mold. It's kind of a fungus that comes when the soil is too wet, and so that one's got quite a nice crop in there. But it doesn't really damage anything. Things will grow up in that, and you kind of plow it under. But these are all the little things that Walter has been starting. Tomatoes. He's starting tomatoes, and he started them right from seed from the tomatoes that we had on the deck. And according to Walter, they were very easy to start. So when they get a little bigger, he's going to transplant them into larger pots, and they're going to go under Grow Light system number 3 that can handle things that are a little bigger. But these potatoes, these tomatoes, are actually sort of a bush. And they produced quite a few tomatoes this summer, and it's very low. So we're hoping that that's going to work under the lights well. Okay, this gnarly mess is a combination of basil and lettuce. This is going. We have been eating this lettuce that's there, but now it's getting a little tough, woody, and bitter. And so it's time to get rid of all of that and start anew. And we will. And of course, our peppers. We have peppers outside, we have peppers inside, and they're doing really well. But these plants now are getting kind of old, and you can see they're getting kind of gnarly too in the stem. So it's time for a new start. So we'll harvest these. Walter made stuffed peppers, as you'll see later on, the other night for dinner. I love stuffed peppers, and they freeze really well if you stuff them and freeze them. And so you got them in the winter kind of a thing. If you want something that you can quickly throw in the oven, and in half an hour you've got dinner. And we'll also take some of these and we will slice them up and put them in little baggies and freeze them, and they're great for cooking too, adding them to, your spaghetti sauce, into soups, and into other dishes as well. So these will not go to waste. We have not bought an actual pepper in quite a few months, once these all started coming on, and the ones outdoors too. So things are doing well. And I've got a whole crop, and that's another thing I need to do this week, is I've got to go out and harvest the jalapenos and the red chilies, the chili peppers, and pickle them. I want to slice up all of the jalapenos and pickle them like my other pickled delights that you've already seen a week ago. Well, those ones are a mixture of different kinds of peppers and jalapenos. I just want to pickle the jalapenos and the hot peppers. Now, so we have something that, we often have tacos or fajitas and stuff, and we like jalapenos on those, or pizza, something like that. Anything you want to add a little bit of heat to, it's good to have them on hand. And, once you pickle them, they'll last, well, I don't know forever, but they last a long time for that. So yeah, that's what's new in our garden. Okay, so that takes me to new products. Well, it's not really a new product, it's a replacement product, and it finally arrived. My new Oliso little mini iron. The other one fell off my table, dropped on the floor, and just wouldn't turn on again. So I did order a new one from Amazon, and in the meantime, I wrote to Oliso, and I have to say their customer service is excellent. They replaced this iron, and I got it the other day, and now I have two. So I'm going to throw one into my travel bag, because I always take it, and that way I don't have to unplug this one and, all that kind of stuff. I'm all about convenience. Yeah. Okay, so that takes me to, can I print this 3D effing thing? Well, I'm working on a big project right now, and it's called Dracula's Castle. It's by someone called Fulv, F-U-L-V. Never sure how you're supposed to say that. I have a feeling it's a short form for something, but I don't know what it is. I have made some of his projects before. I think I've made about 5 other ones. I made the Christmas house about 2 years ago, and I made the haunted house, and I made the theater, and I made the gypsy wagon scene, the fortune teller, I think they call it. So I made 4. So this is number 5. I actually have a 6th one as well that I haven't done anything in that I bought a little while ago. But I thought this one I'd like to have done, for it to be on display at Halloween, and it'll be on display all year round. I ran in a few problems, which were the first problems I've ever had with printing, the 3D printing of this guy's projects. They're all very, very well done, well worth the money, and they're not that expensive. I think the model for this was about $28 Canadian, so very reasonable. There are a lot of pieces, there is assembly, but the assembly is pretty easy, and he gives you a complete paper guide and an interactive guide that you can call up on your computer and see how the pieces go together. He's a genius, is all I can say about this kind of stuff. And they work so well, especially with the bamboo printers, because of the AMS, the color changing system. But that's where I ran into a problem. And I thought, oh, it's either a bamboo problem with their latest update to the slicer program, Bamboo Studio, or it's a problem with the model, the way it was designed. So I wrote to him, and again, he gets right back to you. If you have any difficulties or questions, he doesn't leave you hanging for a week or more. He's on it within an hour or so. Yeah, that's how good he is. So I told him what my problem was. He made a suggestion. I tried his suggestion. That didn't help. But then I realized something. It had nothing to do with the way he designed the model. It had nothing to do with the upgrades to Bamboo Studio. It had everything to do with me, because I'm an idiot. And I'm not going to explain to you exactly how I solved the problem or what the problem was, because unless you have a bamboo printer and an AMS, it won't mean anything to you. But needless to say, I'm as happy as whatever, because I solved the problem, and the problem was me, and it was a very simple problem, and yeah. And I wrote to him back and I said, hey, it wasn't you, it wasn't bamboo, it was me. You know, thank you for allowing me to waste your time. Yeah, basically. So I'm working on this. As I said, there's a lot of pieces. I will show you the finished product when I get there. It's going to be a while yet, but it's coming along. Basically, I have dedicated one of my bamboo printers to printing out the pieces of this, so it's going day and night. Yeah. Now, other things. Okay, this is funny. I think it's funny. I saw this on, I think it was Maker World or whatever, where I get most of my models, and they called it a turkey napkin ring. Now, in the picture, I thought this was going to be a little smaller than what it actually is. This is a good size piece. And my idea was, well, if I'm over at my sister's or whatever, they're here for Thanksgiving, I would make her some napkins, and I would put in this at each person's table setting. But it takes a while to print it, for one thing. And second of all, it's pretty big. And I can't really shrink it down, because then it won't be big enough to get a napkin into it. But anyways, I thought I'd show it to you because I think it's funny. I do. I think it's hilarious. So, yeah. And I'm making a set of fall coasters. And I always like to, if I see my sister during Thanksgiving, I will give her a set of these. And if I'm over at her place for dinner or whatever, then I'm going to put on everybody's dinner spot one of these little keychains with the articulated pumpkin octopus kind of a thing, and the fidget chain that holds together. I like to make little things when I get invited to somebody's place for dinner or something, just little hostess gifty things like that. I think it's just kind of fun. And so I've got a bunch of those made up as well. Yeah, maybe not the most practical. Well, these are kind of practical prints. I mean, who can't use a set of coasters? And, you know, you can use the pumpkin things as a keychain. There's a ring in there that's holding it on. You can put your keys on it too. So, little novelty item. And did I make anything else? No. So, I've been busy with the 3D printer. Okay. So that takes me to an old clip from one of our original Stephen and Walter lives. And in this particular clip, and because it is fall now, in fall, This is when we're getting close to, well, soon, a little bit more into the winter, but ice wine here in Canada. There are not many places in the world that can make ice wine. In fact, or that do. I think we might be pretty much the only one because of the, basically the fruit has to freeze on the vine. And then you only have like basically hours to harvest it and make the ice wine. And it's pretty pricey. For a little quarter bottle of ice wine, it can cost you anywhere from 20 to up and higher for a bottle of it. And it's extremely sweet. It's very good. Kind of as a dessert wine. And we have several bottles of it. Walter's not a fan. And I have to say, I can't drink very much of it. And we have bottles that have been vintage. They've been sitting around here for a long time. I don't know if ice wine will spoil. I don't think it will if you leave it, if you have it corked. But anyways, here's our take on ice wine. We talk about that.
Catherine says, when I visited the falls, I went on a wine tour and they explained how they needed frozen grapes to make that wine. Yes, you can't. Are we the only country in the world that actually makes ice wine?
There are other countries that Germany might make ice wine. I think they make an ice wine too because they're cold enough to do that. But I think Ontario started the ice wine craze, as far as I'm aware of. And it's a very, very sweet wine, like a liqueur. I'm not that fond of it.
Her name is actually Chantel.
And what they do is they let the grapes freeze on the vine. And then about this time of year, they pick them. And what happens is, I guess, the grapes concentrate. The sugar really, the sugar gets concentrated in the frozen grapes. And they don't get very much juice out of it. But it's a very sweet juice that gets it. It's a natural sweet juice. And they make it into ice wine, and it's very expensive. A small bottle of ice wine can cost you, it's about usually they sell them in 250 milliliter bottles, which is a third of a regular size. And they can run $40, $60, $80 a bottle. And it's kind of interesting. So
that's what a bottle of ice wine. Oops.
Is that actually an ice wine?
Late Harvest Vidal, yeah.
No, that's not ice wine.
Yes, it is.
It's a Vidal.
Oh,
Vidal is not ice wine.
Well, why do we have this in such a...
One there. We have one in there that's an ice wine.
This has been around since 2006.
Okay, well, we don't drink sweet wines.
But I thought that was ice wine.
No.
Okay, this is
That's
definitely...
an ice wine.
We should drink that one as a
Yeah.
horinder. That's what a bottle of ice wine looks like. And that particular bottle of ice wine, I think that one cost $60.
Yeah, I think that one was $60. So it's a Cabernet Franc.
Yeah, Walter doesn't like ice wine.
I don't mind it that much.
I haven't had any in a while.
It's good to have with dessert.
Yeah.
It's almost like a liqueur, but it's not very potent in
What's it tell you? Does it say?
It's only 10% alcohol.
10.3%.
So it's not as potent as a liqueur.
But they come in these long, skinny quarter bottles. So what? 350 milliliters? 375 milliliters. So
Yeah, it's about half a regular bottle of wine, and they're expensive.
very expensive. Oh, there's another thing back in here too. No,
Yeah, I think there's
that's a nice wine too.
that might be a compliment.
It could be. Yeah, I think it is. But anyways, just to catch up here, Jaylyn is actually Chantel, and she's from Sarnia, Ontario. So I don't think we will bitch about the weather down here if you're from Sarnia, because you're probably buried in snow up there. So anything down south of you would be balmy weather, I'm sure.
And so that takes me to the events in the past week. Not a heck of a lot was happening. Let's see. We had yesterday, Russ, as I said, of Quilt Meets World, held sewing shenanigans, and I got quite a bit done. That was fun. What else happened this past week? No, nothing really that I can think of. Walter did make, though, we were talking about the peppers earlier, so he made with some of our peppers stuffed peppers, and they were delicious. So yeah, that was that was good. And off to the side, I didn't really take a picture of it, but you can see it peeking there. That's a little dish of freshly sliced cucumbers in vinegar and salt. That's something that both of our mothers used to make when we were kids and serve in the summertime. And, it's kind of like a little side with your stuffed peppers. You can eat them with anything. It doesn't have to be with stuffed peppers. But they are our cucumbers as well. So, yeah, I miss when we get into the fall and everything dies down again. I really miss not having the going out and picking the stuff I want for a salad or to eat from my own garden. But of course, with the grow lights, it's the next best thing. We can do that for some of the things, the lettuce and the peppers, tomatoes, basil, and that during the winter. So these were delicious. And if you've never made stuffed peppers, they're pretty easy. You stuff them with whatever you want. I think he stuffed them with, he used like ground beef, hamburger, and he added, I think, a taco seasoning mix in there with it. And you use a little tomato sauce, and you just open up your pepper, take out the guts inside the seeds, and stuff it. And then he topped it with cheese, and you bake them. And it's as easy as that. I'm sure there are lots of recipes, if you need one, on the internet for this kind of thing. And as I said, you can stuff them with anything. If you've got leftover meat and stuff, you could stuff your peppers with that. So if you got a lot of peppers, yeah, especially if you've been growing your own, because they all come on at once, and suddenly you're bombarded by peppers. But I digress. So what is coming up this week? Well, I got things to do, things to work on. I have another quilt I would kind of like to get quilted. We'll see. I'm thinking about doing that tomorrow. It's a Quilt of Valor quilt. I've had the top done for quite a few months now. It's time to get it on Lucy and get her done. And there is a shop hop, a quilt shop hop, starting I think this Thursday or Friday. 4 different shops. It's a bit of a road trip to get to all 4. I don't know if we're going to do it or not. It looks like the weekend's going to be really nice though. So maybe on Saturday, we'll do that. Yeah, more money to spend. I've been spending a lot of money lately. That's what it feels like. Okay, so that's it for me for this week on the vlog. Tune in to Idiot Quilter tomorrow. I'm going to talk about some of those creations I already gave you a sneak peek at, but there's other things to talk about as well. And then So Chatty on Friday, which I have no idea what we're going to be talking about on Friday, as I often don't. Yes, I know, keep saying that Walter's going to show you how he makes his bags. He's been working on another shirt for me lately, so maybe you'll see that on Friday as well. Anyways, who knows? But there'll be something. Okay, I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye for now.